Hi, welcome back to Scripture Explorers. I'm James.
I'm Aria.
And I'm Daisy.
And we're the Scripture Explorers.
We've talked about a lot of parables that Jesus taught explorers. What do you think about them?
I like them.
So do I.
So do I.
What do you like about them?
They make it easier to understand what he was teaching.
And I always like stories.
That's great, because we're about to talk about some more parables today.
Yay!
The first one is about a group of women who were going to attend a wedding. In those days, the groom would have a small party in one place, and then gather other wedding guests on the way to the wedding feast. There were 10 women waiting for the groom. 5 of them were wise, and 5 of them were foolish. Each of them had a lamp that they could light if it got dark outside while they waited for the groom to come. These lamps had to have oil in them to be lit, but the 5 foolish women had not brought any oil. They waited and waited, and even fell asleep waiting. When they awoke, it was midnight and very dark. The 5 wise women lit their lamps and went to join the wedding party, but the 5 foolish women didn't have any oil. They tried to get some from the others, but there wasn't enough to share. They tried to go and buy or borrow, but shops were closed and people were asleep. Eventually, the 5 foolish women made their way to the wedding feast with no oil, but the door was shut. The groom came to the door, but he could not see who they were. He said, "I know you not," and they were not allowed to join in the wedding feast.
What does that story mean?
One day Christ will return, but we don't know when, and we have to be prepared by living righteously and following the Spirit.
Tell us another parable.
There was a master with 3 servants. He was leaving on a long journey.
Wait, I think we heard this one before.
It might seem that way, but many of the parables begin in similar ways. In this parable, the master gathered 3 of his servants. He gave each of them a different amount of money. He gave the first servant 5 talents, or pieces of gold. He gave the next servant 2. And to the last servant, he gave 1. He wanted the men to take good care of the money. A long time later, the master returned and asked what had happened to the money. The first servant, who had 5 pieces of gold, had used it wisely, and now he actually had 10 pieces of gold. The servant who got 2 pieces of gold had also taken good care of the money, and he had made money. The last servant had been afraid. He had taken the money and buried it in the earth. He brought it back to his master. To the men who had taken his money and brought back more, he praised them for being good and faithful servants, and promised them rich rewards. But as for the man who had simply buried his gold and returned it, how do you think the master felt?
Good, I guess. 'Cause he got his money back?
The master was not happy with him. The money was taken from him and given to the others, and he received nothing.
I don't understand that parable at all.
This one's a little trickier than some. God has given us a great gift, our lives. He doesn't expect us to simply sit around and do nothing. He wants us to make the most of our lives that we can. He wants us to gain experience and make ourselves into our best selves.
Do you have any more parables?
Well, the last thing I think we'll talk about today isn't exactly a parable, but something Jesus taught. He teaches at the last day we shall all stand before him, and we shall be separated like sheep and goats. The sheep represent those who listened to Jesus in this life and sought to follow his voice, just like the sheep listened to the voice of their shepherd. The goats represent those who did not listen to his voice. He will tell his sheep, "Come ye blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was an hungered, and ye gave me meat. I was thirsty, and ye gave me drink. I was a stranger, and ye took me in."
All these people will have to do that for Jesus? We haven't ever seen him.
Well, he goes on to explain. The righteous will ask him when they saw him, or gave him meat or drink. Jesus will answer them, "Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these my brethren, ye have done it unto me." In other words, when we treat our fellow man with kindness and love, we treat them as Jesus would. It is as though we are doing the same thing to Jesus.